The sun was dropping low over the empty plains when the drifter stopped his horse. He looked around at the vast space of brown grass and red rocks. There was nobody for miles in any direction, just him, his tired horse, and the endless land. He started making his small campfire, same as he had done every night for the past 2 weeks. But he knew what was coming. As soon as the last bit of sunlight disappeared behind the hills, it would happen again. A single war cry would echo across the desert. It would be far away but clear. It would be meant for him. The cry came right on time. It started low, then rose high and sharp before fading into the wind. The sound made his skin crawl. Every single night, the same cry. Every single night, from somewhere out there in the darkness. Was he being hunted by an enemy, or was he being haunted by a ghost from his past? The man's name was Jonah. You could see his hard life written on his face. Deep lines around his eyes told stories of too many days in the sun and too many nights without sleep. His hands were rough from years of work and fighting, but it was his eyes that told the real story. They were always moving, always watching, like a rabbit that knows a hawk is circling above. Jonah was running from something, and that something had found him. 2 weeks ago, he had thought he was free. He had left the last town behind and headed into the empty territory where nobody went unless they had to. But on his very first night alone, the cry had come. At first he thought it was just a native warrior passing through, maybe hunting, maybe traveling. But then it came the next night, and the next, always the same sound, always from the same distance, like someone was following him, staying just far enough away to never be seen. The worst part came in the morning. When Jonah woke up and looked at the cold ashes of his fire, he found something that made his blood run cold. A single hawk feather, placed carefully on top of the ashes. Someone had come to his camp while he slept. Someone had stood right there, close enough to touch him, and left a message. The feather was not a threat. It was worse than that. It was a promise. Jonah tried everything to lose his follower. He rode hard during the day, pushing his horse until it was covered in sweat. He doubled back on his own trail. He rode through streams to hide his tracks. One day, he rode in circles for hours, trying to confuse anyone following him. But when the sun set and he made his camp, the cry came again, always the same, always there. He tried not making a fire, sitting in the cold and eating dried meat in the dark. But the cry still came. He tried staying awake all night, rifle in his lap, watching for any movement, but he never saw anyone. When morning came, there would be another feather, sometimes on a rock near where he had been sitting, sometimes hanging from a bush. Once he found it tucked into his saddle. His hunter was playing with him. The pressure was breaking him down. Jonah had always been a strong man. He had fought in wars. He had survived things that would kill most people. But this was different. This was not a fight he could win with his gun or his fists. This was something else, and it was working. He was not sleeping. He was barely eating. His hands shook when he tried to load his rifle. Then the memories started coming back. Things he had pushed down deep and tried to forget. He would be riding along, and suddenly he would be back there, back in his cavalry uniform, back with his unit, back on that terrible morning when everything went wrong. The memory was always the same. His captain had gotten word of a native village nearby. The captain said they were hostile. He said they had been raiding farms. Jonah was young then, barely 20 years old. He believed what he was told. He followed orders. They rode in at dawn, 50 men with rifles against a village just waking up. But it was not a hostile camp. It was families, women cooking breakfast, children playing, old men sitting and talking. By the time Jonah realized the mistake, it was too late. The attack had started. Guns were firing. People were screaming. In the chaos, Jonah found himself face to face with a warrior who was trying to protect his family. The warrior had no gun, just a knife. Behind him, a woman held a small child. Jonah did not want to shoot, but the warrior came at him. It happened fast, too fast. Jonah fired. The bullet went through the warrior and hit the woman behind him. She fell, still holding the child. The child was hit too. In seconds, a whole family was gone. Just like that. Because of one bullet. Because of Jonah. The warrior lived long enough to look Jonah in the eyes. There was no anger there, just sadness. Deep, terrible sadness. Then he died, reaching toward his family. Jonah ran. He left the cavalry that same day. He had been running ever since. 10 years of running. 10 years of trying to forget. But some things cannot be forgotten. Now riding through the desert with the war cry following him each night, Jonah understood this was not random. This was personal. Someone knew what he had done. Someone had been waiting. Someone had finally found him. After 3 weeks of this torture, Jonah could not take it anymore. His mind was slipping. He would talk to himself. He would see things that were not there. He needed to be around other people. He needed help. There was a trading post about 2 days' ride to the west. It was small, just a few buildings, but there would be people there. Maybe his hunter would not follow him there. Maybe the presence of witnesses would save him. He rode hard for 2 days, barely stopping. When he finally saw the wooden buildings of the trading post, he felt relief for the first time in weeks. There were other travelers there, traders with wagons, a few cowboys passing through, normal people living normal lives. Jonah paid for a room and a hot meal. He sat with others and tried to act normal. When the sun set, he was inside, surrounded by walls and people. Then the cry came. It echoed through the trading post like thunder. Every person stopped what they were doing. The room went silent. The cry came again, longer this time, full of pain and purpose. Some of the men grabbed their guns. Others looked at Jonah. They could see it in his face. This was about him. In the morning, Jonah found a hawk feather pinned to the door of his room with a small knife. The message was clear. Walls would not protect him. People would not save him. This would only end one way. The other travelers left the trading post quickly that morning. They wanted nothing to do with whatever was happening. The owner of the post told Jonah to leave. He was bad for business. Jonah understood. He bought supplies and prepared to go. But go where? He could not run anymore. He was too tired. His hunter was too good. It was time to stop running. As the sun rose the next day, Jonah rode out from the trading post. But instead of trying to escape, he rode to a flat, open area about a mile away. He got off his horse and stood there in the morning light. He dropped his rifle and pistol on the ground. Then he waited. The hunter appeared as the sun climbed higher. He came from the east, walking slowly, like he had all the time in the world. As he got closer, Jonah could see him clearly. He was young, maybe 25 years old. He wore traditional native clothing mixed with some white man's gear. His face was painted with symbols Jonah did not understand. But his eyes, those Jonah understood perfectly. They were the same eyes as the warrior who had died 10 years ago. This was his son. The young man stopped about 20 feet away. For a long time, they just looked at each other. Two men connected by one terrible moment in the past. Finally, the hunter spoke. His English was good but careful. "My name is Kavi," he said. "You killed my father. You killed my mother. You killed my sister 10 years ago." Jonah nodded. There was nothing to deny. "I know," he said. "I remember. Every night I have followed you," Kavi continued. "Every night I have made the cry. Do you know what it is?" Jonah shook his head. "It is not a war cry," Kavi said. "It is a mourning cry. It is the sound I made when I found their bodies. It is the sound that has lived in my heart every day since. I wanted you to hear it. I wanted it to follow you the way it follows me." Jonah felt tears on his face. He had not cried in years, but now he could not stop. "I'm sorry," he said, but the words felt empty. How could words fix what he had done? "Sorry," Kavi repeated the word like it was foreign to him. "Yes, I believe you are sorry. I have watched you for weeks. I have seen your suffering. You do not sleep. You do not eat. You are already dead inside." "Then finish it," Jonah said. He pointed to the guns on the ground. "Take one. End this. You have every right." Kavi looked at the guns, but did not move. "For 10 years I thought about killing you," he said. "I trained. I learned to track. I learned to hunt. I followed every story, every rumor, until I found you. And now here we are." "Then do it," Jonah said again. "Please, I can't live with this anymore." "No," Kavi said, and the word was firm. "Death would be too easy for you. You would feel pain for a moment, then nothing. That is not justice." "Then what is?" Jonah asked. Kavi was quiet for a moment, looking at the vast desert around them. "You will live," he finally said. "You will live, and you will remember. Every day you will think of them. But more than that, you will tell their story. You will tell everyone you meet about the family you destroyed. You will say their names. My father was called Talon. My mother was Mourning Dove. My sister was Little Rain. She was 4 years old." Jonah repeated the names. "Talon, Mourning Dove, Little Rain." "Yes," Kavi said. "They were not warriors. They were not enemies. They were a family who wanted to live in peace. You will tell people this. You will make sure they are not forgotten. That is your punishment. That is my justice." Jonah understood. This was worse than death. This was a lifetime of carrying the weight of what he had done. But it was also right. It was what he deserved. "I will," he said. "I promise you, I will tell their story." Kavi nodded. He turned and began to walk away. After a few steps, he stopped and looked back. "The cry will not follow you anymore," he said. "You carry it inside you now." Then he was gone, walking back into the desert until he disappeared into the morning heat. Jonah stood there for a long time, alone with the wind and his memories. Finally, he picked up his guns and got back on his horse. But he was not the same man who had ridden out that morning. From that day forward, Jonah was no longer a drifter running from his past. He became a different kind of wanderer. He went from town to town, ranch to ranch, anywhere people would listen, and he told the story. He told it exactly as it happened. He did not make himself look better. He did not make excuses. He simply told the truth about Talon, Morning Dove, and Little Rain. Some people called him crazy. Some refused to listen, but many heard him. They heard about a family that should still be alive. They heard about the cost of following orders without thinking. They heard about the weight of taking innocent lives. And in this way, the family lived on, not in body, but in memory. Every person who heard the story carried a piece of them forward. Jonah lived for many more years. He never settled down. He never found peace, but he found purpose. Every morning he would wake up and remember why he was still alive. He had a debt to pay, and he would pay it until his last day. The war cry no longer echoed across the desert at night, but it never really left him. He heard it in the wind. He heard it in his dreams. He heard it in his heart, where it belonged. This story teaches us that sometimes the deepest justice is not about revenge, but about remembrance. Sometimes the greatest punishment is not death, but life with purpose. What did you think of Kavi's decision? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of the Old West, where justice took many forms and men had to face the weight of their choices.